Joining us now, he knows something a little bit about policing because he was an Army Ranger, and he's a state senator now. If things go south in Luther Glen Saturday, I've got his cell phone. I'm calling him up to post our bail. State Senator Bryce Reeves. Welcome, Senator.
Good morning, John. How are you?
Never better. I'm fired up today because we got baseball this weekend, so I'm pumped.
Well, we got lacrosse going on too under the radar. So there you go.
Under the radar.
You know, these teenagers, they can't sit at home much longer without it's crazy.
I mean, it's like you gotta. We've got to sneak out to play baseball. I mean, come on, Senator. This is insanity. Now, I want to know. Okay, I'm going right to the source, Senator. Then we'll get to defund the police. Now, you're a high school football coach. You're a high school. You're supposed to start practice this week. What's going on?
It's not happening.
You're not going to start?
Train in place, buddy. Some of this, they're still trying to get outlined on what they can and can't do. I mean, the governor's instructions with regard to education is just ridiculous. You know, we're not going to listen. I think you're going to see a lot of blowback on that, not only from parents of children, school age, but I think you're going to see some blowback from teachers and some of the other folks as well. I mean, this is really sad for our children, your kids, my kids, and going forward, there's going to be a generation of kids that, because of this, are going to be behind everywhere else. And it really is a setback because you don't get that time back as far as education in the classroom and those sort of things. So, and athletics is probably one of the last things on academics' minds, educators' minds, which, at least in what I've seen rolled out, it is last. And so I don't know what's going to happen. I can tell you for my kids or my son who's still playing high school athletics, he's been working out all summer during this time or, all during this COVID now for the summer. So he's fit and ready to go, and they've started some practices and doing the social distancing and all that sort of stuff and taking the necessary protocols. But it'll be interesting. We still have our tournaments on for later in the summer, so we'll see how that works out.
So you as a football coach right now, as a high school football coach, you have absolutely no guidance on what to do. You can't start workouts, right? Organize workouts, so they're working out at Zoom at home or something. But as a high school football coach in Virginia, you have no idea what's going on.
Well, I mean, I have an idea, and we put out directions to some of our players and some of those things. But, we're still kind of wait and see because the governor's kind of left it up to individual school districts, and you have the high school athletic, that whole governing body trying to put out some guidance, but we're still not quite there yet. So until I think they're still trying to figure out academically what they're going to do with all these kids. 10 kids on a school bus? Are you kidding me? How many more school buses do some of these districts are going to have to buy? What's the impending burden on parents? Are they going to have to drop kids to school? How is all this going to work? And I think that's the bigger challenge is they've got a couple months to figure it out because we go back to school pretty early. Remember, we're on the new schedule, at least in Spotsylvania, we're on the new schedule. So
which starts it starts in the third week in August, right?
Right. And so, I mean, look, the clock's on. We've got to get there. So in the meantime, we'll just hold fast. We're part of the other stuff I do is coach lacrosse, and so we're working on that right now. But we're like you. You're going to peaceful protest on baseball fields, and we're doing the same thing with sticks in our hands. So I don't know how that'll work, but we'll see what happens.
Unbelievable. John Fredericks Radio Network, Trucking the Truth Across Virginia. We're with Republican State Senator from Stanton, Fredericksburg area, Bryce Reeves. Senator, let's get to this movement to defund the police. What does this mean? Like, have no police, call up, what are you going to call up? Clark Mercer? Or, what do you do?
Well, I think part of the challenge you see here is a weak governor, a weak executive, listening to a very small circle of people within his cabinet and trying to catch the wave, the rest of the trend in the rest of the country. It's just not going to work. We're a country made of law and order, and otherwise, what are we even going down to make laws for? If we're going to, the rule of law is going to be lawlessness, which this governor has supported. We're vandalizing personal property, having rights, and the police aren't engaging. And in some aspects, I don't blame them, because if they do engage and make an arrest, are they going to be brought up on charges? And so, I think we're heading down a slippery slope, and it's happening fast. And I think the governor's been hesitant to call a special session for the simple fact that I think he's worried that there's going to be legislation that's going to come through that's going to pin his ears back. And I think that's truly what's going to happen. I mean, you've got senators on both sides of the aisle and our chamber that have started to litigate. I think you had Chap Peterson on your program a day or so ago, and he talked about the lawsuits he filed on behalf of a bunch of his constituents. So the governor's going to have to start playing defense, because this litigation is going to make its way through. And the people are just growing tired of it. This isn't King Ralph, as everybody likes to say. He's a governor, and he certainly has exceeded his authority constitutionally. And most people that can read and understand in layman's terms the Constitution, he's done that. And so we've got to get back to special session or a reconvene session to handle what's going on and get this thing fixed.
The only time he said he was going to call a special session was in August to talk about defunding the police.
Well,
and you guys don't have 2/3 in both houses. Nobody. You're never going to get to 2/3 in caucus with the court in the House. Forget that. And you're not going to get to 2/3 in the Senate. That's what I just told Senator Peake. Never happened. The only way you get to a special session, if he calls it, and doesn't he have the ability to call it for a specific thing and say, I just want to call it to defund the police and talk about the budget, and has nothing to do with his executive orders or emergencies or anything else?
Well, he can call it, but once he calls it, that doesn't limit us to the amount and what we can talk about and what we can debate. And, I'm not a constitutional attorney, but
right.
my colleagues are pretty sharp on that stuff. So I think you'll see legislation that will drop that will help do that. I'm not going to say that we can't get to 2/3. I think there are some other folks on the other side of the aisle that have had a belly full of some of those things that are happening. You just got Louise Lucas enthralled in the stuff that happened down in her district, where she went out and property was toppled and statues done and all these sort of things. And now there's an investigation on Louise about what she told police officers and when and how and all these sort of things. So I think general populace is getting tired of being in their homes, getting told what they can and can't do. Business has to go on. People have lost jobs. John, people in my district are hurting. They're hurting, and this governor's done nothing to relieve that. And he just keeps coming down with arbitrary mandates on people, and it's just not working. And as far as defunding the police, if you defund the police and you don't have a police force, then what you're asking for is gangs and those sort of things to enforce the law or the rules. We don't even say the law. We'll say whatever they want is going to go. And then you're going to see crime rise in certain sectors of cities and everything else, because that's just what happens in those sort of things. And then they'll be screaming for the police again. So, once they burn it down, what do they want? People to come back and build it up? It's not going to happen. And, it's just Looney Tunes. I don't even understand how we got here so fast, but it's just, for me, I'm just kind of blown away by it all. I mean, gun sales have never been better. I can tell you that. I've got a friend that owns a gun shop, and he's like, hey, this is great for business.
I know, if you need a gun,
are buying guns.
And Senator, if you need a gun, as much as I like you and your friend go to Bob's Gun Shop in Norfolk, it's worth the ride. Located at 746 Granby Street. Go to bobsnorfolk.com. How's that segue for one of my advertisers? You like that? I'm so loyal to my advertisers, Bryce. That is a great segue. Forget Reeves' buddy that owns a gun shop. Go to Bob's Guns, and in Norfolk with Senator Bryce Reeves. Seattle, you served in the military. You're an Army Ranger. You were like big time. I mean, you're looking at this in Seattle. Retired General Robert Spaulding was on. He called it an armed insurrection that had to be eradicated. What say you?
Well, I think the general's on a point there, right? I mean, when we start having vigilante groups sectioning off and quartering off sections of cities and saying, hey, look, we're going to put up a roadblock and no one can come in here, and police have abandoned their post. I think that's occupied territory by an insurrection group, and it needs to be put down. I mean, that's that simple, right?
Well, how do you put it down with the mayor? The mayor backs him. The mayor says they're patriots. The New York Times says it's a street festival, and you can go there and buy a cannoli, I guess, in a balloon. The governor, Inslee, said he doesn't know anything about it. I guess he's on vacation or something, or he just is lying.
So maybe it's Burning Man in the middle of the city. I guess that's what they're trying to describe it as. I don't know.
Burning Man in the middle of the city. I forgot about Burning Man.
Yeah, it sounds like it's Burning Man in the middle of Seattle. So I guess that's what they're doing. They're taking it out of the desert and putting it in Seattle. I mean, I don't know, but if I'm an average citizen and I have an apartment in that area and I'm trying to go and I'm getting stopped by armed thugs to tell me what I can and can't do, I think that's an infringement on my constitutional rights of free movement and all the other things of being detained and all that. So I think they've got real issues in Seattle, and I think once that economy falls based on this, companies aren't going to. You're going to move an employee to that town and set up a business based on that, knowing that the police department and law and order can be taken at any time. If they can take over your police department, can't they come in your business and take it over too? I mean,
yes.
Are we going to start asking for protection monies? I mean, is this the mob? I mean,
yes.
Come on, John. Those places like Seattle, they're going to go down the tubes. That's the bottom line, because prudent, reasonable people are not going to go to those places. I'll never visit Seattle again.
Me either.
I've been there one time. I'd never go back, right?
You never know if you make it out of there. I mean, you never know if you make it out of there. There's no police protection, and you got the mayor and the governor cheering on an armed insurrection takeover. Remember when they were fighting over cattle grazing, and there was about a handful of paper, and they took over some shack in a U.S. park out in the middle of nowhere. Remember that?
Right.
I mean, I think Obama was president. Yeah, it was before Trump. I mean, the media went berserk. I mean, they went nuts, and it was like five guys in a pickup truck.
Grazing rights.
Yeah, grazing rights. Yeah. They went bananas, and they had some lady going in there that would make pancakes, and I mean, it was just like you would have thought it was like the country was getting taken over. It's 8 guys in a pickup truck, a bag of flour for pancakes in some shack out in the middle of nowhere for cattle grazing. And now you got thugs take over 7 square blocks, and you got the mayor and the governor cheering them on. Where do I live?
Well, I don't live in Seattle, but we're getting close to that. The way things are happening down in Richmond lately, it seems like that. I mean, it's this whole, the whole monument thing. I like to talk about throwing fuel on the fire and igniting bad race relations. And I don't understand what's going on. And the governor's not leading in this. He's just throwing more fuel on the fire. Look, we passed a bill that would allow localities to the ability to move these things under a controlled environment and keep them as works of art and tributes to American veterans and those sort of things, and put them in different places. If a community didn't think it met their community standards of where they wanted them and all those sort of things now, then great, that's fine, okay. But we're going to still treat them as what they are, as American veterans, and we'll move them to museums or battlefields and all those places where they can remain. But maybe this is a way with protesters and rioters for the governor to get what he wanted all along, which is destruction of monuments. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if it's still part of his reparations tour for his blackface and all the other stuff he's done. I mean, I don't know. I haven't talked to the governor, and I don't know where his mind is, but it's certainly not on the people of Virginia.
Senator Reeves, we're out of time. You got a big hole in your budget, but talk about that the next time. But one more question. What's the deal with Louise Lucas? What has she done?
Well, there was some, quote, peaceful protest before they became not peaceful protest down in her district about a statue down there that was being covered by the NAACP and something else. And, this new law goes into effect in July and it'd be removed. But they didn't feel like, I guess some folks in the crowd didn't feel like that was soon enough, and they started to vandalize it and topple it. And there were some arrests, and the police tried to take action, and then she showed up down there and I guess told them not to take action, and so they didn't. So this thing was vandalized. When they toppled top of a statue, it fell on somebody and injured them pretty good. And so now, somebody's injured down there, and it's a he said, she said, who said, who's responsible for the police not taking action, and everybody's pointing fingers. And, it's one of those things. So, now that's she's under investigation of who said what, when, where, and how. And, yeah, so that's what Louise has done. She's got herself in hot water.
Senator Reeves, I'm out of time.